it's Lisa from My Dream in Soap. We're going to make some salt bars today. Now when I make my salt bars I make them natural, and by natural my definition is that I don't use any micas, I don't use any fragrance oils, so I'm using essential oils and I'm using clays, natural clays for my colouring, and also I'm using calendula petals. Now what I've done here is when I've made up my lye solution that I need for part of my soap, I've done a calendula infusion in my lye. I didn't video that this time because I've done another video not that long ago where I showed you how I did my calendula infusion, and I'll link that video too in the description box below so that you can see that. Okay, so what I'm going to do first of all is, for my colorants I'm using some yellow clay and some red clay, and I'm just going to initially pop in the essential oils relevant to each portion. Okay, so this is an essential oil blend of cedarwood, pink grapefruit and ylang ylang. Okay, so the rest of that can go in there. Okay, and that will just help disperse my clays nicely, so I don't get any lumps and things. Okay, so I'm going to make these salt bars in sort of almost as if they were two batches of soap, just because I want to have calendula infused lye for one portion. And then I'm just going to have just normal plain lye for my other portion. So let's get these blended up. And then also I always use aloe vera in my salt bars. Now I use this concentrated aloe vera, so it's basically the same as using a full replacement for my water. So I'm just going to pop that in. That will all get another blend in a minute. Now I'm just going to measure out my salt. I've got my total amount of salt here, and obviously I need to divide it out because I'm sort of doing 2/3 and 1/3. Okay, so there's my salt into this smaller portion. You'll always get lots of sort of bubbles and airy bits in there as you put your salt in. Doesn't matter, that will come out. Okay, so I'm just going to give these another little blend just to make sure I don't have any lumps of salt in them. Okay, you do need to work quite quickly with the salt bar, especially if you want to do any sort of design with it. Now I'm just going to use this. I know it's a little bit dirty, but it's all going in the same soap and that tiny little bit isn't going to show. Okay, and then we just want to finish off by getting our clay and essential oil mix in. So there's the yellow clay in with the calendula. Just because I put clay through my salt bar, so I might as well put a yellow clay into a yellow portion. Okay, and then the red clay in what's the white section at the moment, and that will turn it a reddy colour. Sort of red clay is sort of a brick red, a browny red, so that's quite nice for a cedarwood fragrance. Okay, so they're starting to thicken up nicely. Let's get my mould. Now I've popped a divider in this. You wouldn't necessarily need a divider. You could always just pour it in, you know, however you wanted. I'm going to just do a simple hanger swirl with this. So I'm going to put my yellow clay in one side. And then the red in the other. Now I use a 50% salt in my salt bars, and if you're interested in finding out my recipe and using it for yourself, I do have a recipe on the I Dream in Soap page of my best-selling salt bars, which is my activated charcoal salt bars. So basically it's the same base, and you could take that, and instead of using activated charcoal, you could, for example, do what I've done here, use some clays, and you could certainly change the fragrance that you put in it, but it gives you the basic main recipe and how I make those activated charcoal ones. So as I say, you can go to the I Dream in Soap shop and you can get a copy of that recipe if you want one. Okay, let's get this divider out. Not forget the end bits as well. And then I'm just going to do a hanger swirl. This hanger tool's a little bit short for my mould. I made it for another mould, but I find that with the salt bars sometimes, using a gear tie, which I often use, they're just a bit floppy. So I'm just going to go in and get some swirling going on with this. Okay, that will do. It looks a bit messy at the moment, doesn't it? Right, let's just get the rest of these jugs scraped out, and then we can just texture that top. Let's just clean up these sides a bit, and then we'll texture that top off. So I'm just sort of swirling it a bit first, just to level everything out. So I want the bars to be pretty well the same size, obviously. Okay, and then let's just do some texturing. So there we are, I'm going to leave that like that. Now with the salt bar, we don't want to leave it only overnight. We want to cut it as soon as it's firm enough to cut. And this will firm up in a couple of hours. If you leave it until it's saponified, i.e. like the next day, you won't be able to cut it. So you do need to cut it before it's saponified. And it's likely to still be warm at that stage. So we'll come back in a couple of hours and get this cut. So it's been just over a couple of hours. Let's have a look at this soap then. So it's still really quite hot on the sides. And just to check to see if we can unmould it, we're just going to see, oh yeah, look, can you see how the mould comes cleanly away from the side? And as soon as you can do that, you want to think about unmoulding it and getting it cut, because we don't want to leave it to get too hard. Okay, so let's get this cut. Then we can have a look at what we've got inside. Okay, so there. Now, what I find with the salt bar is this at the moment, can you see how dark it is? It's actually going through gel at the moment. So that's why I don't want to spend too long having these out in the air, as it were. But what will happen is, certainly the yellowy area, that will lighten off quite a bit. And then the red clay area will actually show up more. So it's a little bit tricky to see that swirl at the moment. It's quite a just delicate little swirl, but that will actually lighten up. Because as I say, it's really still going through gel there. You can see how dark it was. So I'm just going to keep that stacked up. I now take these and I just stack them up in the loaf on their ends and leave them together so they can continue what they're doing. And I'll then bevel the edges tomorrow.
And here's a final photo of the salt bars, and as you can see, that dark yellow colour has actually lightened down quite a bit, and it's just a nice light gentle colour now. If you'd like to buy some salt bars, we have lots of different fragrances in the I Dream In soap shop, and also if you'd like to buy a recipe for the salt bar, you can find that in the shop too. I hope you've enjoyed this video and you like the soap. If you have, it would be great if you gave me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see what I'm making in the future, why not subscribe to my channel? Thanks for watching everyone. Happy soaping!